Hello and welcome. Good evening, everybody. I am Diva D from Carved Out Divas,
April Kyle with April's Beauty Bar, and we are diversity and equity in education.
and we are being hosted by the fantastic and phenomenal Bianca Goolsby of Teaching for the Culture. Thank you and welcome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Do you all know what day this is? Does anybody
Sunday.
know? It's a Sunday, but what makes this day special for all Hillsborough County students?
They
April.
don't make it special for me.
It ain't special for me either. But I'm just saying, what's special for them? What do they need to do tomorrow?
Oh, the parents can release them back to their other parents.
Okay, so this is where we are. It is now Sunday evening at 6:30, and parents, it's time to prep your children for school, whether it's virtual, whether it's a brick and mortar. They should be unwinding, unplugging, decompressing. At this point in time, we told y'all 2 weeks ago, you should have checked the backpacks. Please check again, because at this point in time, if something that hadn't been checked 2 weeks ago, it's gonna be rough. Okay. So this is where we are. But how? Let's get a general assessment. How are teachers feeling? April, you were just on a forum earlier this afternoon. I was unable to attend that because, I had a celebration with my sister. It was her birthday today. But can you give us a little breakdown of what the general consensus is among some of the teachers that were in the interview today?
So for those of us that was on the forum, in summary, we're all highly concerned about the return back into school. Just things that we were concerned about at the initial beginning when our numbers were not at 10%. Now they are there. And, one of the arguments at the time was we were under the 10%. In the event that we ever reach that point, we would go back to the drawing board and reconsider and then go virtual at that time if need be. And we don't hear a lot of that conversation happening. So right now, our numbers are at an all-time high. And though it seems as though the conversation is very quiet. And I'm going to say quiet across the board. You might see a couple posts every now and then from a few people of that are in position, but I don't think that they're talking loud enough. And I say all that to say this is that collectively our small voices aren't going to do anything. We need collective voices to be able to begin, having conversations around what is currently happening in our workplace setting that places a lot of us just at risk. Because again, courthouses, a lot of doctors' offices, your government buildings, they are not back at functioning at 100% capacity. And we're deemed not have been done so as well. But when our classrooms are at 100% capacity and overage, then that is a problem. So we all came to a consensus that the media is putting out, big misconceptions about what the classroom settings really look like at brick and mortar. No, there aren't classrooms where you're going to have under 10 kids in order to space classrooms out with 6 feet around students, and masks are being worn diligent by students. Yes, they do a pretty good job with it in my school setting, but they still aren't wearing them completely throughout the day properly, as deemed by the CDC. So again, we're just concerned with our numbers being at an all-time high and not hearing a lot from our district outside of pushing forward with saying send your children back to school and sending out these pictures that depict, I don't know what classroom in Hillsborough County, but it's surely not one I'm familiar with.
Right. Because I did see the stock photo images that they put out there, and we understand. This is the difference between reality and expectation. Okay, if you can go on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and see the huge parties, do you really believe that a stock photo of a classroom that with kids spaced out 6 feet apart is actually going to be reality? Because reality is not that. That's not what you've been seeing all these past weeks of actually even before Thanksgiving, from Thanksgiving straight through the New Year's. You seen crowds and crowds and crowds. There was an article in about Ybor City. You saw the lines of people around the corner going to one particular event. And then our also the fear is like what you just reminded me, because football does not really play out in my mind right now because all I see is COVID. Okay, but the Super Bowl's coming here now. One of the
Well,
articles.
before we even go to the Super Bowl, we just had the Outback Bowl.
That's right. That's right. And they said that one of the biggest issues that we're having right now is the fact that it's not really that is the locals, but the tourists are traveling so much that they're carrying the infections from place to place. That's the biggest concern. And now we're going to have a sporting event that is so large that you can only imagine the amount of people coming in from all over. And have they been vaccinated? More than likely, it's going to be a no, because most of the people who are getting vaccinated right now are, first off, the healthcare workers. So now you've got a whole bunch of people coming in, and what can that look like? And I know a lot of people complain about the fact that, teachers seem like they're so they complain a lot. Or they always got something negative to say. However, at this point in time, we are now in officially the first week of 2021. If it has not affected you personally, you know somebody. Because I'm at that point where I literally know at least 5 people who I are not just Facebook friends, but people I actually know that have been affected by it. So you cannot tell me going into a school, a classroom situation that we should not have anxiety and panic about walking into that school tomorrow. Don't you think?
I agree. That's what I just said. Yeah. There's
Okay.
nothing more to add to it. It is what it is. And I just always want to have people, reflect on what they're asking of educators. Yes, it's our job, but our job was never to work in a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think people fail to forget. We're not the save all, and I've said it from the beginning. Why do we have to sacrifice ourselves in order to be the answer or the solution to everyone else's what deemed as a problem for them with childcare and their jobs? So it's just, it has fallen on deaf ears. We see that, and it is what it is. Continue to pray and push forward. But I do believe that there's some negligence that's happened here. And for those that are in position to have conversations with those that are higher up, they need to be having it. And they need to be speaking publicly about it, because these behind the closed doors conversations are not giving parents the level of insight that they need to know that this is an urgent matter. And the information that's being provided is just not is not providing the correct narrative. Classroom sizes are not smaller, guys. And keeping in mind, second semester, a lot of parents have received that phone call to say that your child isn't doing well, that they need to come back to school. Okay, understandable. But remember, most of those classrooms are full already. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand, what is the true overall expectation for a teacher? Like, realistically, what do you want from us? Our life? Because that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Because what people are not paying attention to the fact that teachers' lives have been sacrificed already. I mean, there's not really a date that I have actually not scrolled through some kind of a platform where you have seen a teacher pass away, and some of them are right here in Florida, some of them are further up north, but it's happening. And again, when you think about it, that's one teacher affects so many kids. Y'all just might be thinking, okay, it's just one teacher, one teacher, one teacher. But if you got just a minimum load of 100 students, you see how big that the impact can be? Because now everybody got to scramble to make sure these kids are covered or make sure that they're getting what they need. Okay, well, if I've lost say for example, a science teacher. Wait a minute, not everybody. English teacher, reading teacher. This we all got to figure out how to cover this particular subject area, and we may not be experts in the subject area. That person may have been the expert, or the one of the two people, and you can't overload people. Like for example, your SAL. That's your subject area leader. So that person now will have to end up teaching their course load and the next course load of another teacher, and that's going to cause burnout, which then leads to, hey, listen, I'm not coming to work today, or maybe for a week. I'm tired. This ain't happening. And I think people need to just really start to realize that is, if it hasn't happened already for teachers, it's going to happen soon. Because this is right before spring break, and I know this is the time when many of us just fall out. We just drop out. Like, okay, I'm done. I can't do it no more. I don't know about you, but
Some are going to return after Christmas break. That's when we really see it. That they'd be like, nah, I can't do this no more. They didn't have 2 weeks to come up with an alternative plan for their finances, and they just don't return. So it is what it is. I just think that for those that are going into our jobs outside of, those in healthcare or some form of healthcare position, In most cases, many are still working from home. In most cases, many that serve customers, there's the limitation on the number of customers can be in their buildings at a specific times. In most cases, there are appointments that must be set outside of your own doctor's office. They make you sit in a car, and like we are the only profession that is serving high numbers or high populations of people, little people, unknowing what the impact is going to be to us at any point.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is.
I mean, it, and what you said hit the nail on the head. We've gone to restaurants where they will space you out so far, and they'll put you way in the back. I'm like, can I get a little closer to the kitchen, please? I mean, we way in out there far away on Egypt. But it's like, if they can do that and they recognize that this needs to happen this way, why are we not doing that with our children? Why are we not doing that with a teacher? That's a restaurant. That's a place you go to by choice. Anyhow, do we have some comments? Let me get some comments going real quick before we move on. How was it on your side? I'm gonna read off of the ones on my side. COVID. So Veronica says COVID fatigue is real. For what? Veronica,
I think our mental health was disregarded the day that they told us we needed to go back and teach, with expectations that there's still going to be evaluations or observations, I should say, with the expectation that still the students are still to be put in groups and interact with one another. I think our mental health was never considered. We are the anomaly to the rest of the world's, overall mental state being at stake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what it is that this is the unrealistic expectation of the super teacher. Because what people do is like, well, teachers can do anything. We can do anything, or we can teach multiple levels. We can, pull other kids from other classes. We can differentiate. So they really believe because you can do all that already, all that's on your plate. I mean, you can handle the stress and the trauma that's coming from this. But there's something called a breaking point, and at some point in time, you're gonna crack. So. No, let's read this next comment because Veronica got it. As we said, the hits keep on coming. Veronica said, if any educator is over 65, they can get the vaccine until DeSantis prioritizes educators as a whole. Exactly. And then
well, most of those individuals, they may take a leave of absence. So what the hell? None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense at all. Mm-hmm. And if you try and sit and make sense of the choices that our designated leaders are making for the majority, you will be bat crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Give them the word.
Yep. Yeah, it's horrible. So I mean, you're right with the educator. In fact, we had two teachers who literally had just hit that retirement age. They were like, "Listen here, y'all say closing school in March. You ain't seeing me no more. I'm gonna just take these 3 months early. I'm out." Okay, so never came back. So it's like yeah, there are people right now who's sitting on their options. If they're already at that 28th to 30th year and they looking at what's going on right now, many of them are going to just say, I'm just going to go ahead and just go cop out early. I'm going to retire early. I'm already at that point. So now what do you do? Because that's an added thing on there. What if we go back in January and half the staff not there? These are things that people don't take into consideration. Because guess what? All the kids might come back, but half the staff. We already was down at least 10 people off our staff before we went on Christmas break. Before. Now what's going to happen now? They done have 2 weeks to think about it. Their whole family done talk them into it. They're like, don't go back to that job. They had 2 weeks to think about it. Keep that in mind. Especially when you have so like me, I'm single, but at the same time, what if you have people who married and the spouse say you don't need that in your life? Watch a married teacher and see how many of them come back. Especially if the husband or the wife got a good job. Anyhow, y'all gotta take this into consideration. Please take it into consideration, right? Please. Now, also we heard some things about how there a lot of teachers are out there or different people are out. You have to understand grouping. Like you're a math teacher, grouping. Like if they expect us to group kids in groups of 4 to 6 in school, that's what the CDC says is a good size group. When we talk about groups of 1,000, 2,000, what you see in the streets, in the theme parks and places like that, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. Pay attention to groupings, group sizes. Now, I might not be good at math, but I sure know 10 is a whole lot smaller than 1,000. Okay, I do know that for a fact. Now, back to school. Parents, let's just reiterate now. Listen, we've had 2 weeks off. We've been through Christmas break. Everybody done ran out there and bought what's that game system? What's it called? PS5? Is that what it is?
Yeah, most people couldn't get their hands on a PS5 because it had so many glitches and errors that had to be corrected on the first set that went out. So many just got new games, and at this point, keep them in the house with the games. That's fine. But we know that
Mm-hmm.
has not been the case. We know they've been at auntie, grandma, cousin, and them house out there in the neighborhood. They did some sleepovers or two, football. If yeah, some football still going on because they have the different games.
Mm-hmm.
And all is great if the masks are on and they practicing social distancing. I think some people take offense when people are having conversations about, the children being out and about or people being out and about. Well, one no out and about is more risky than any other person's out and about, unless there are no masks involved. That's what it is. It just greater your chances. Now, if wearing the mask and practicing the social distancing and keeping the mask on, in most cases, the majority of the time you're in company with people that live outside of your home and you know their whereabouts all the time, then it is what it is. You've
Mm-hmm.
done your best. But when you just parade it out there and people see it and know what you've been doing and know that you're constantly out there, then don't take offense to it. Just own your ish. Own it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Own it.
Well, exactly. And also to just remember, parents, that you had 2 weeks out. Parents, please, when we come to school, just remember the supplies. I mean, I know it's a Sunday night now, so I know I could have said that out there a little earlier in the week, but at the same time, we've been off of school for 2 weeks. We can't be walking in the door with new shoes, new clothes, new phone, new AirPods, and don't have pencils and pens. Because remember, we're still in a season of COVID, and we cannot share supplies. So important to understand that. I mean, it was amazing to me when the one last time I was on campus, people was just asking me to borrow entire boxes of supplies. I said, if you borrow this, you can keep this because this ain't coming back to me. So just keep in mind if you're missing simple things. There's a lot of stuff right now at the dollar store, cheap. Okay, little notebooks out there, pencils, pens, highlighters, just a little bit of cash left over for Christmas. Just supply. Just stock up on supply. That's all I gotta say about that. I know for us, they give us all these wipes and all these things like that, but still, just get your kids what they need. And water bottles. Look, I don't know at your school if they're doing it, but they give us cases of water. But kids, reminding kids that when you have a bottle of water, okay, that's your bottle of water. So that means, and they all look the same. You either put a label on it, a sticker on it, pour it in your container or whatever. But once you drink it and start leaving around the classroom, hey, take that stuff with you. Take everything that you had brought into this classroom out the door with you. Just a word of advice. I'm telling you, because it's rough to see when I walk
Yeah,
in the
mine
classroom.
don't make it. As soon as the room is clear, all items left behind, either one, it go in the stack to say what look, things I left behind stack,
Right.
but all other items trash. They know it goes immediately in the trash for me.
Yeah.
And then look, you microban and wipe it down. Clorox, Lysol. Yeah.
Exactly. Because
And look, Lysol, Clorox, Fabulosa wipes, all those things are back on the shelf. Now,
oh,
I'm going to tell you that I trust things that are brand label when it comes to that. I'll even take a Walmart label, a Sam's label, but I'm gonna be honest. I just don't know if I can. I completely trust the things that are provided to us by the district. I just don't. They smell funny. I never smell alcohol smell like that. Even concentrated, the odor is very pungent. It smells weird. And after you use it a while, their teachers on campus indicated their hands start to itch and peel. I never know
yes.
alcohol to do that. Even at a higher grade or concentration, I've never known alcohol to do that. So again, if you want to make a teacher happy, any educator happy, anybody that work with kids happy, send them a good old box can package of
Yes.
Lysol, Fabuloso, Clorox, Sam's brand, Target brand, anything that we know these major companies put their name on is going to be 100%, or at least 99.9, because nothing is 100%. That's what they would be. It's going to be from here to here. It'll be pushing it up like this.
Right.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
please.
bless your favorite teacher today. That's all we got to say. Just bless your teacher. You, like I said before, adopt a classroom. Adopt. You can even just adopt a period. Just say, hey, listen, I want to adopt your homeroom. Now, bless your homeroom. That's it. And help out, because there's, just like you said, that whatever that foam or whatever it is that the district has given us, it smells so bad. Like all the kids. Let me tell you how bad it is. Since you don't need a reality check, the kids will ask to use my name brand stuff before, and they'll walk past full dispensers of that hand sanitizer and say, "Can I please use this? Can I? I know you got that Germex. You got that what's the other big brand name? The one that everybody uses in the blue bottle. Blue is a clear blue. I think it's Germex, the clear one with the blue. Look, they want all that. That they'll ask you to use your Bath and Body Work hand sanitizer. They'll go to town on all your other stuff, and they know that you have good wipes. Something about that, it leaves that smell. First of all, the smell stays in your hand, and the kids don't like it. So if you think about the fact that you got brand new containers of hand sanitizer and the kids aren't using it because of the way
They
it
won't
smells,
touch it. They
they
won't
won't
touch it.
touch it.
Mm-mm. They be like, I need the other brand. Look, first of all, let me back up. They never touched it in my room anyway. Let me say that the jug is waiting to be picked up at any point by anybody. I
Right.
just once I open it and see, it just something ain't right about it. But
So
it is
basically,
what it is.
y'all spent all these hundreds of thousands of dollars on some stuff the kids don't ain't even using. Have I wonder if anybody the person who made the purchase order, did you smell the product before you ordered it? Did you not get a sample? I mean, because something like that can't be effective if nobody using it. We just gonna move on. I mean, I left my teacup, so I mean, I just need an owl or something. Just that's all I gotta say. I ain't got no cups, so we gotta move.
Legs
There you
to the
go.
20 to the 21.
That's
Legs.
the first flight of 2021. Take flight.
Yeah, so moving forward, we do know that while I do know that while we were on the when I was on the forum earlier, there was mention of a new variant that's impacting that's being highly talked about on social media wise in the UK.
Mhm.
And the lady that was on indicated that it has been shared that it impacts youth at the same rate as it does adults. And something along the lines that the spread is so much faster than it is of the regular COVID.
Hmm.
That is a problem, y'all. And I didn't know that you couldn't contact tracing properly when it's over 10%. Did you know that?
Wait, say it again. If you can't
If
contact,
it's over 10% in an area, it's you can't effectively do contact tracing.
that makes sense though, because if you think about it,
That's insane. And we're over it, right?
right? We over because think about it. Go to Disney World. Go to Disney World and drop $5 and somebody pick it up. What? Go see if you can find your $5. How you gonna find it? You got all those people to run through. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
And
So now,
Veronica added that that hand sanitizer is slimy. Yes, I've heard the kids say that. And when they rub their hand together, it turns like them crumbs. And I'm
mhm.
like, yeah, that shouldn't be doing that. In such and such class, it be all right. I'm like, listen, don't bring that conversation in my room. We're not using that stuff. We got hand wipes. We have
Right.
so much stuff. It's time for me to put out my call to action again because I'm getting to that midpoint, but I don't want to run out. I don't want to run out. So I
Mhm.
thank all those that invested in me as a person, knowing my occupation, that bought all that stuff at the beginning of the year. But remember, second semester coming up, and it's that time for me to what to say, beg again.
Right.
Help
Right.
beg for my safety, my PPE stuff.
And we do thank you, because there are people who have truly been very faithful and just so helpful and realize what we do for a living. They understand the plight that we're going through. So when we ask for supply, they're very, very, very good. Some people have walked up to me and said, just give me a list of what you need. And I said, okay, I will tell you what I need. And so just it's we're so thankful for that. That's truly a blessing. And when so God put it on your heart to be a blessing to teachers. What we also reciprocate by also sharing too. If I got a neighbor that's next to me that alters something, I'll just give them something too out of the abundance, which is great. Okay, but what was I gonna? I just lost it. I just lost it. I just had to talk about that. Oh, the within the form, because I missed it, so I really wanted to ask a specific question. How do a lot of the teachers are feeling about the vaccine that's coming out? Or did y'all not discuss that?
We didn't really talk about the vaccine. I know they indicated there was a couple people, one or two, that indicated that it's not available to the to us at this moment. Just the ones that are 65 and older, but we didn't really get too much into the vaccine. Right now, we're just trying to figure out how do we end up at this place currently in the education system, knowing that we're not safe. We're just not safe at this point. Hmm.
And the fact that you don't have anybody that's providing viable solutions. That's the issue right there. It's one thing to have a problem, but I mean, if nobody is at least opening up and saying, here's a solution that can work for everyone, that's the problem that we see, especially because I mean, parents, I understand the anxiousness of parents, understand the anxiousness of teachers, but I mean, where is the leadership that is going to help us meet in the middle and say, hey, I think this is going to work out for both sides.
Right, I agree. So hopefully that's the case. That's the case.
Exactly, exactly. We don't say it. So just a quick reminder, parents. Now, especially for those who trying to send the kids back, the quarter is not over yet. Remember, we took a break. Well, I think what threw a lot of people off, because I got a lot of messages that this past week. So are we starting third quarter? Okay. Remember, there was no exam. I think that's what threw a lot of people off, of the fact that there was no semester exam. But we are still in the second quarter. So our quarter ends on January 14th.
Mhm.
So we still got all the way to January 14th, which is another 2 weeks. Then then that'll be the end of the first semester, which is the end of the second 9 weeks. And then again, we'll start over the following week. We'll start into the third quarter. So I believe this is not the time to try and send the kids back yet, because remember, it was such a struggle just getting the schedule straightened out right now. I mean, I had schedule changes all the way up to the end of the first quarter. So in order for, if you would make a decision and say, I'd like to send my child back and everything like that, I understand all that, but just know it is not going to happen right now. And you definitely want to get in touch with your APs of curriculum, or your AP, or your counselors, things like that, because those are the people who are going to be doing the schedule changes. And just remember, your child may or may not be allowed to come back, because based on staff, when we walk in that door tomorrow, we're going to know whether or not we got a full staff, or we down another 20%. And that definitely is going to affect whether or not your child come back to school, because you can't pack a class. We have classes right now got 39 kids in it. Now, you heard what I just said? 39.
Yeah, I don't know where they get I don't even know where to get those stock photos from. Besides, they staged it. They staged the
Of
picture.
course.
Because I know for a fact, but what I do know is there's no way anyone can expect us to move forward in this capacity with the classrooms being, like with that number of kids of more than like 25. There's no way. And doing so is just placing that teacher and other kids in harm's way. We don't have partitions in our rooms. We don't have it where we could split up 6 feet apart. It is encouraged to place your students in groups for cooperative learning groups. It is, I mean, observations are still happening. Teaching is, happening, but definitely not to a place to where it was. And there's, small moments where it's highly encouraged by your administrators to make those to make it look like all these things are happening, but it's not. So this look, going back into the school year, I had, start putting a few of mine in groups of 3. They still spaced out from each other. But the key thing is we're coming back. Look, after Christmas break, we're back in rows for the next month. That's just it. We're back in rows. We're back in the rows, spaced out as much as we could be. We can't interact like we did. Like they were doing really well with it, but now we're starting all the way back over because you've not been in my presence to know when you're looking like you might not be feeling well, when you look like it's a lot of observations that happen, for me anyway, with the children that, when they arrive on campus. Like you can start noticing key things about them. You can tell when they don't look like they're feeling well. You can tell when you can visibly see that their body is warm or flushed, their cheeks are red. You can tell when their eyes, like it's a lot going on. So now I got to be able to reimagine, what they look like during those times and then now move forward. But Yeah.
Yeah. And then
The complaining teachers are back.
right, right. And then the frustration, let me tell you something. Even though it is COVID, the kids still had, well, when we left campus the last week, we had a bunch of fights. Now, part of it is, and once you step back and analyze the situation, part of it is they frustrated too. They're like, why 39 of us in a classroom? And you can't move them because there's no place for them to go. So you slap them right back in the classroom, fight explode again. And then, of course, because you have people who do not culturally understand our children, some of them are biased towards our children, they don't know how to diffuse the situation before it gets into all our brawl.
I have always wondered how a teacher allows students to sit in a classroom and have back and forth conversation to where it leads to a child standing up, like listen to all the things that happen. They're engaging in conversation to a place to where one gets upset enough to where they stand up, move towards each other, and then fight. Like I just never understood that. So, and then it becomes a problem for the next teacher sometimes when you've allowed those conversations to happen in the other room, and now they try to bring it over. And it's
Right,
insane. I
right.
never
Because
understood that for the life of me. I've
it's
never had a
interesting.
fight begin in my classroom under my supervision ever. Now they might bring it in the room at the beginning of the period. I don't even know what the heck going on.
Yes, because
I'm like, what happened?
that's the thing with me. They will say to me, they said, how come you didn't know what was going on? I said, because I have it so tight in here that I told them already. I said, I want you to breathe. You're going to fight about against somebody, or you're going to talk down to somebody in this classroom. And there's going to be a problem because the situation between me and you, not with me and the other person, because we don't do that in here. So what my kids do is they end up getting sneaky and stealth is they keep it on their phone because they already know this teacher right here, if I even hear that something about to pop off, I'm gonna shut it down. So what happens is it brews in another classroom where they're allowed to go back and forth, back and forth. So by the time stuff pop out of my room, everybody like, you didn't know? Of course I didn't know. They gonna hide it from me. They're not gonna let me know. I have to go on social media like
Yeah, they
that.
don't let me know nothing too, because I be calling out. Well, what happened? Because let
Yes,
me call the room where the other child at. Who is it?
yes.
I be
I'm
all
gonna
up in their
get
business.
it.
I don't care. And I be quick to tell, listen, what we
Mm-hmm.
not gonna do is
Not in here.
act like it's a problem when it's not a problem.
Hmm.
If nobody has lost a life, it's not a problem.
Right.
If they're not touching you, it's not a problem. It's just not.
And and
But
and and it go back
again,
to the conversation. Well, like we were talking about, it go right back to that conversation where how is it that I can diffuse my children, but you can't diffuse my children?
they have full blown battles in certain rooms. You'd be like, you all said they said all of that in the presence of a teacher. What was the
Right.
teacher doing? Like, that's really weird.
Right.
Um, yeah. So Veronica. Oh, also when we were on the forum with Teacher for the Culture, returning afraid, there was someone that shared the information about the Opt Out Florida Network. And
Mm.
that's where they are providing information to parents. And I'm assuming, anyone in the community to learn more about having your child opt out of the high stakes testing for grades 3 and 10. So I don't know a lot about it, but I
Mm.
do know that there was some information going on in the chat about it. So I'm pretty sure Bianca can post it after this session here. For individuals that want to learn more about it, they can.
Okay, great. All right. So, look, yeah, and let me tell you something. Um, yeah, I do need to find out about the opt-out form. But parents, the other thing too, it'd be great to have if you had a parent liaison or some type of just even just any regular parent, any parent. How would you like to see forms that coming from the school? Like, in the very beginning of the school year, you have this huge packet of forms that you need to fill out for your child. But I do understand it becomes overwhelming, especially for if you have multiple children. So I'm going to throw that question out there. We're going to find out. We're going to do some polling a little bit and just ask parents, well, how would you like to see that information disseminated toward you? Do you want to deal with all those piles of paper, or is it possible that you can get something in a digital form? I mean, how would it be just easier for you? Is there a way that the district can make it easier for parents to not fill out all those millions of forms? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because as we go forward with COVID and with the vaccination, learned over the past week that you're getting everybody who's getting vaccinated gets a unique type of card that has all of their information on there. So how wouldn't it be interesting to have something like that for parents, to where I won't have to fill out a form every single year, but I have a card or some kind of thing. I don't know what kind of word I'm gonna use, but that would be able to keep all the information for their children. That you can just go from school to school to school. So just throwing that information, just throwing it out there. I don't know what you think about that concept, April.
You know, I'm a visual, so I can't visualize it right now, but I know what you're meaning. A one place for parents to store key information. Yes, but I'm a visual, so I have to think about that a little bit more. I know it will help for me. I know I have post-it notes everywhere when it comes to the boys that stays in this little nice look container
Right.
for when I have all my different things that I say and do, and yeah, it just goes back in here with their different Zoom links and their what day they meet with this, like I get it. So yeah. Or even if there's a sheet that's provided at the beginning of the year to tell them to keep this sheet for, and so on and so forth. So,
Right, like what they do
but
for
that would
teachers.
be too much, like right. But back to the topic of parent liaisons. Rumor has it that parent liaisons at many of our former achievement schools that fell off and they did not become transformational schools, that they're losing their parent liaisons.
Hmm.
Now, if by any chance that is the case, I'm trying to understand if the school needed that resource, taking it away does what? Because they definitely are not the highest paid on the campus, but they definitely are the most probably direct useful for a child or even a parent outside of direct conversation, with the teacher. Like I don't know what's happening with that. That if they were needed before, they deemed it necessary. And I think that was something that the NAACP shared with us, that they were responsible for creating that opportunity in our achievement schools. Like I wonder if they have wrapped back around to have discussions if that isn't true, and it's true that those liaisons are losing their jobs.
Hmm.
I would love to learn more about that. So I know
Because
that you have schools like I know Sheehy fell off the list. Um, what middle school fell off the list? I want to say was Memorial fell off the list. Like there are schools that no longer are achievement schools. They when it went from achievement to transformational, being that they improved their grade, they lost some of the resources that they had. And I don't understand that, because if you take away the resources that help support them during their time of need as it relates to for the child, as a whole, then why would you take the resource away? Doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense, because it's as if to say, well, I fixed it. But wait a minute, it's school. School is cyclical. Like that means a new child coming in every single year. So how are you going to say, well, I fixed the problem, but I still got more kids coming in? That has that I can't. And on top of that, a parent resource is so invaluable. A parent resource is like that school secretary. That's that first face that you see when you walk in the building. That's the person that got the keys to the city, as far as I'm concerned. That's a person who can help a teacher break those cultural barriers too. It's like, what, like the room mom, like the grandma, like in some of the affluent schools, you got the school grandma, or the person who's sitting in the room with the teacher. But if you have teachers who don't get the kids, but you put that parent liaison in there, you you're good to go. They're gonna help explain to you, hey, guess what? In this neighborhood, that's what they're accustomed to. These kids live over here, these kids over here. And it all go back to that, knowing the community that you serve. It all go back to that right there too. Because if you come into a school setting and don't understand the community, the dynamics of the neighborhood, then you're gonna have problems.
That is so true. And I also want to add a plug really quickly that is very important for, if there is a PTA at your child's school, a PTSA at your child's school, please join. In most cases, it's in between five, no, let me go back, in between $3 to $7. I've never heard it less than $3, and I've never heard it being more than $7. So therefore, take a moment to join your child's school PTA or PTSA. It's necessary. You would be amazed of the amount of resources or the wealth of information that is provided through that particular organization. And I just can't stress it enough. Become familiar with the individuals at the school site that are your executive board for PTA or PTSA.
Mhm.
Find out more. Find a way to connect to your child's school in the event that you know that you can't be there as often as you would like to. A simple just connection in that area will keep you a lot of times in the know of what's going on at the school if the PTA is very active. And in most cases, they are at the sites. So again, I request that you all please take a moment and find out more about your child's PTA or PTSA.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I think there's the is it the HCTA? The girls trek is also this weekend. I'll just throw that in there since we're talking about other things that's also applicable to school. There's a girl trek that also that takes place every month. So that's taking place this Saturday, I believe. I don't want to be wrong, but I think it's Brandon. It's the park that they're going to is in Brandon. So just go ahead. We're going to post the information again on the pages so y'all can see that. Okay. And
And
then
that's not HCTA because that would be the Hillsborough
I'm
Classroom
sorry,
Teachers Association. So no, that's not
that,
right.
that
It
is
is
the
the HCC
PTA.
PTSA PTA, which is the
See,
Hillsborough County Council Parent Teacher Student Association Parent Teacher Association.
okay,
Big difference.
we're gonna need the alphabet soup redone again. So whoo, these acronyms,
But
they gonna
not HCTPA, HCTA. No, not the union. Look, don't get me started with the union. I'm trying to stay.
you can throw a bird across the screen. Take flight.
I just want to know what we doing. What
Oh, take flight. Just take flight. Legs. Just
one thing I do know is very consistent is that my money leave my account every 2 weeks
listen. They
for my
consistent with that.
membership.
They real consistent with that part. They
And
pick
I'm gonna
that
stay
money up
quiet. I'm gonna
consistently.
stay quiet because I don't have anything nice to say right now. And maybe tomorrow, but just not right now.
We do like them dudes that went and spray paint Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell house. They got better have my money.
Yes, yes. Where my 2,000?
Where my 2,000 at?
Right,
You
right,
know you a brand new kind of bowl when you walk up to.
right,
I'm like sis, you didn't have no security. You making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Where your
right.
security? What? Anyhow, yeah. We okay. What they say here? Hey, me a lot of. She said, "Black girl Maddie." That's so sweet. What we saying? Maybe. Oh, maybe they realize that informed parents is not what they want. Legs. Let me tell you, when a society don't want their people educated, and there are people in leadership that don't care that the people are educated, it's on purpose. It's on purpose. I'm convinced that it's all on purpose. When people sit there and look at me and tell us, well, April, I tell about the reading rates and all of the contributing factors, and oh, it's parents, it's the school resource officers, it's administration, it's everybody, all of us together, law enforcement, everybody, and we don't know, and we act like ain't nothing wrong. This it's designed to be that way. This is a battle that we fight, and like you said, we fight against not only man, but not a flesh and blood, powers and principalities. We fight it because if you're saying you see the parent can be effective on campus, and you choosing to remove that position, but you got resource, but you got hold on, huh? Let Bianca.
Right. I
All
know where
weekend
you're going,
long.
but you got go ahead. Go ahead.
Resource officers riding around. What you riding around on 40th Street on a Saturday night? Where you going? Because when you made that turn, you looked like you was going to Dewey's, but
I'm done.
take flight. Take. Because the only thing around that corner was Busch Gardens and a couple liquor stores. Where you going on a Saturday night? Was the school open? Was there a game that you had to go? Why are you patrolling so hard? Then the one that was behind me, I was coming down 22nd. Coming from Ebro after getting them some the wings at the wing spot. And I'm like, well, how you almost ran into me? What? Where are y'all going on Christmas break? What is it when a commercial was in the 80s? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. I just want to know.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I just want to know because you got no parent liaison. We don't. We got one psychologist that come one day a week. So what happened if we got problems? The kids got problems from Monday through Thursday. I guess they can't have no problems. They can only have a problem on a Friday. You got one nurse, one social worker. I mean, really? But y'all riding around on Saturday doing what? Patrolling where? Like for
And
my blood pressure.
patrolling who?
Right, because you have no authority to arrest anyone. That's the other thing.
Right.
You ain't even authorized. So what you? My blood pressure getting high. Let me stop because I get mad. Stuff like that just make me mad.
More legs.
Legs, just legs.
That might be the one who say, "Oh my God." Like the questions that we could come up with that have no answer.
Yes. Who paid for the
Why,
gas?
like, we could just begin rattling them off and it'll be never ending.
Because cars require maintenance. So if you're driving a car on a day that it don't need to be driven, you just added more maintenance problems to that car later on in life. I mean, you got oil changes. That car gotta have tune up. That car needs tires. Where you going? Or you just riding? And let me take into consideration this. 2 of them I saw out of uniform. Only one I saw was in uniform. So really, where you going with the government stuff? My blood pressure gonna be real high. Let me just calm down. What these quotes say? Because I mean, we look. We're gonna leave these questions for y'all to think about. And when we come back next week, you all give us some answers. I think that's what we'll do. We'll just create a little bucket full of questions. Y'all go ahead and tell me what some people got to say right here. What is it? We trying to figure it out. Teacher for the culture, we trying to figure it out.
We all are trying to figure. Yes.
Right.
So, and who is paying for the gas money and the mileage?
Right. We would
Because
like
the more mileage on the car depreciates the value of the car. Yeah, that part.
And if we got that kind of money, why y'all ain't picking up teachers and taking them to work? Because if we able to ride like that, teachers should be chauffeured to work.
Take a ride.
Because I'll take one too. Especially since you're in this area today. So when we ask these questions, we ask them just or specifically to be funny, but we literally looking for real answers. Real answer. People, please. Because the same teachers that's sitting here begging for Clorox wipes, why we can't ask a question about what's going on with these cars on the road? That's all we want to know. That's all we want to know. And up to now, I'm still waiting because people get on the post and say things, but they ain't giving the answer yet. And we asked this question about 3 months ago. Well, how many truancy officers are there? Because they say that you can't come pick up kids because they say they limited in truancy officers. I still ain't got an answer yet.
And that is a good question, which leads us into the segue about SEC before we get off. Again, Denise and I are the co-founders of the Sunshine Education Coalition. And basically, we are a collaborative grassroots of teachers, anybody that work in the education field, community members, those that are interested into finding out or seeking out solutions for our school to prison pipeline and the impact it has on the Black child, with the emphasis on the Black boy. So we have been doing a lot of heavy research. We have been developing having the necessary conversations with those in leadership. And though there are some that have, opened up many opportunities for us to create, the necessary dialogue in order to move forward with the work that we're doing. And there are some right here in our city that sits on the school board that have yet to respond to our ask of just a simple meeting. So we do know that, everybody's priorities are different and we understand that. But what I do know is that your priority must include the children that are being impacted the most as it relates to the disproportionate number of suspensions they are receiving. And, until we start having that tough conversation and not going through the motions of saying it's coming, it's in the works, it's a work in progress, a whole half of a year within the next 2 weeks will have gone by and the issue just has not been addressed. and we are no longer accepting the momentary conversations. We are or have shifted this to a movement mentality. And we welcome you all to join us on the Sunshine Education Coalition's page here on Facebook. And we're on Instagram and Twitter, but we don't do a lot with it yet. Keyword
And
yet, but we are there.
website as well.
Yeah, and the website. And what we are excited to share is that for the month of February, we are hosting the 28th day of the Black Youth Experience series. And we have a wealth of information that is coming forth in the next couple of days. And we're excited about it. We are seeking out the community support as it relates to attending the virtual panels. And also, we're seeking youth to spotlight every week as it relates to the positive things that they're doing in their community. They could be entrepreneurs, they could be excelling academically, whatever it may be, we are wanting to identify some youth. So we're going to have a Google Doc that is going to be sent out or put out on our page this upcoming week, where you all can submit names for youth to be spotlight for the sex spotlight of youth, which will happen every Wednesday in February. And there are a lot of other things that we have going on. So we're excited. Again, we're not stopping the conversation. It's not a moment that we don't think about it. So we consider it now. It's a movement. And for anyone that know that you're interested in this work, which doesn't require a lot of your time, it just requires some time. And we invite you to join us.
Mm-hmm. And so excellently well put. But also, just to remember, you for every negative story that you hear about our children, there has got to be something positive that you can pull out of it. So that's why we're really encouraging you to share with us information and stories and just the students that are doing exceptional things, because too many times nobody really hears about our children doing well, and it's that's when I tell you, when Black children can see other children just like themselves doing amazing, incredible things, it is that to me is more impactful than an adult beating into their head, do the right thing, do the right thing. So please, yeah, just share with us what you can, and then we're definitely going to share with you stories, and especially about kids who are just doing amazing, wonderful things,
I
especially in the
totally
world.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
I like the science.
So that's all we have for you all. We are definitely wishing everyone, most definitely our educators or anybody that works in the field of working with children that must return on tomorrow. Start it off with a prayer, pray all day, clean all day, and
Yes.
you'll be just fine. It's very important to be intentional about your safety first. And if you ever feel like you are in a position where you're not safe, make the decision to live. I'm going to say that again. You decide, make the decision to live.
That's
God
right.
will provide without question.
That's right. Okay. And that's us it for the evening. Guess what? I am the Diva D from Carved Out Divas.
April Call with April's Beauty Bar. We are diversity and equity in education.
That's right. Then thank you, Bianca Goolsby, for hosting us again this evening at Teaching for the Culture. So visit Teaching for the Culture as well as Diversity and Equity in Education. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Nice
Bye.
fingers.